President Donald Trump has warned that the United States might carry out airstrikes in Nigeria, and he has linked this threat to what he calls the killings of Christians. Today, I'm going to break down what was said, what Nigeria replied, why the story is more complicated than the headlines, and what this really means for Nigerians and for global politics. This is the full explainer, no shouting, just facts and context. Before we get into the statement and the back and forth, why should you care? Nigeria is Africa's most populous country and a regional power. Instability there affects food security, migration, trade, and the fight against violent extremism across West Africa. Now, when a US president threatens possible military action in another country, it raises legal questions, diplomatic alarms, and the possibility of unintended consequences, especially if the violence inside that country is complex and multifaceted. So, we need to separate what was actually said, what is actually happening on the grounds in Nigeria, and what the options are from a legal and diplomatic standpoint, noting where claims are alleged so we are clear on facts and allegations. On 1st November 2025, Trump publicly stated that thousands of Christians were being killed in Nigeria, and he further said the United States would take action if the Nigerian government did not act. He said he had asked the Pentagon to prepare options suggesting that the US forces could be sent on the grounds or that the airstrikes were possible. He also linked actions to cutting or conditioning US aid. Okay, note this. When we switch into legal discussion later, I will use the word alleged in front of items that are legal or could be actionable. For example, alleged genocide, alleged imminent threat, and so on. Right now, we are simply reporting what was said, the claim of mass killings and the threat of military measures. Keep in mind, public political statements sometimes aim to pressure or signal rather than describe an immediate plan of invasion. We will unpack that. Nigeria's government strongly rejected the characterization that Christians are being targeted in a genocide. Some of the officials called the allegation false and stressed Nigerian sovereignty. The presidential spokesman and the foreign ministry said the violence in the country is complex, involving both terrorist, bandit, and communal clashes, and that victims include both Christians and Muslims. Nigeria further signaled that it welcomed assistance that respects its sovereignty and is coordinated with the Nigerian government, but it rejected unilateral military action by another state inside its territory. So, to understand the claims, you must know what kinds of violence are happening inside Nigeria right now. They are not all the same, broadly. We have the insurgent groups. The familiar example is Boko Haram and its offshoots. These Islamic insurgents have attacked civilians, government posts, and schools, primarily in the northeast for many years. And then we have the Islamic affiliated cells and localized extremists. There are smaller groups sometimes aligned with international extremist networks. And then we have the banditry and mass kidnappings. In the northwest and central states, criminal gangs have kidnapped school children, travelers, just anybody for ransom. And then we also have the farmer-herder clashes. So this is in the Middle Belt. Conflicts over land, grazing, and resources lead to deadly communal violence. Underlying grievances are often local, economic, and ecological, not purely religious. And lastly, we have the ethnic and communal violence. Some of this violence is driven primarily by ethnic or resource disputes rather than religion. Now, the legal basics. And here I will be careful to mark claims that are not established facts. Under international law, the United Nations Charter generally prohibits one state from using force in another state, except in narrow circumstances, and those circumstances include consent from the host state, or United Nations Security Council authorization, or alleged imminent self-defense. if the state itself possesses an immediate threat to the attacking state. So, unless Nigeria consents or the Security Council authorizes action, unilateral US strikes will raise serious legal concerns. Any claim that foreign force is lawful without these conditions should be treated as alleged until justified by clear legal grounds. So, to put this plainly, a US president saying he is readying options does not automatically create a legal basis for strikes. That will require either Nigerian consent, a UN mandate, or a clear and present threat that meets the standard for alleged self-defense, which right now is very high threshold. History shows similar rhetoric has sometimes preceded international intervention. Think of the language used around humanitarian claims in Iraq, Libya, and Syria. In some cases, humanitarian concerns were used to build coalitions and obtain UN mandates. In other cases, interventions were unilateral and controversial. Now, African states are particularly sensitive to foreign military action because of colonial history and past intervention that bypassed local sovereignty. That background shapes how Nigeria and other African nations perceive any foreign threat. Now, let's walk through 3 plausible pathways from most likely to least likely. Scenario 1. Diplomatic pressure and conditional aid. Most likely. The US tightens conditions on aid, imposes visa restrictions on certain officials, and demand clear action from Nigeria. This is pressure, not invasion. Scenario 2. Targeted cooperative assistance. The US offers enhanced intelligence, logistics, or training, but only with Nigerian consent and coordination. That keeps sovereignty intact while improving capability against extremists. Scenario 3. Unilateral kinetic action. The US strikes without Nigeria's consent. This will trigger a major diplomatic crisis, potential regional backlash, and legal debates at the UN. It's possible but costly and unlikely given the legal and political obstacles. Each pathway carries different risks and consequences for people on the ground. Here are the top risks you should watch out for. Domestic polarization, a narrative of our people versus theirs, could inflame tension between communities within Nigeria. Sovereignty conflict. Nigeria will defend its right to lead security decisions on its territory. Regional fallout. Neighbors and regional bodies like ECOWAS and the African Union could oppose unilateral action, complicating cooperation. And lastly, humanitarian consequences. Military strikes, even targeted, risk civilian casualties and displacement, worsening humanitarian needs. So, a good policy must weigh both the goal of protecting civilians and the risk of making the situation worse. If you are asking, what should Nigerians do? Here are some practical steps that can help de-escalate the crisis at the moment. Offer transparency, which means share data and timelines of actions taken to protect civilians. Or they can decide to invite independent verification, which is propose a joint or third-party fact-finding mission to investigate alleged abuses. Or Nigeria can decide to accept tailored consented assistance, which means request intelligence cooperation or training but retain operational command. Nigeria could also decide to improve domestic messaging, which is emphasize unity across religious communities and highlight actions taken against armed groups. And lastly, Nigeria could decide to mobilize regional diplomacy, which is brief ECOWAS and the AU early and seek their backing for any joint fact-finding or diplomatic push. All of these options protect sovereignty while addressing international concerns, and they help reduce the chance of external unilateral action. Keep an eye on things like official US policy documents or reports that formalize aid cuts, statements from the UN or Security Council, Nigeria offering or accepting a joint fact-finding mission, and regional statement from ECOWAS or the African Union. These signals will tell you whether this is moving towards real cooperation or towards escalation. The Nigerian presidency publicly rejected the threat of intervention, insisting that Nigeria is a sovereign nation, not a battleground for foreign military action. The government made it clear Nigeria welcomes cooperation but not coercion. Any support against insecurity must respect the nation's independence and leadership. And then they also emphasized again that the violence in Nigeria affects all faiths and communities, not just one group. On the other side, Donald Trump has not walked back his statement. He repeated that there could be troops or airstrikes if what he calls the alleged killing of Christians continues, and he doubled down on the possibility of cutting aid. So, at this point, no military steps have been taken, no deployment, no airstrikes, no formal order. For now, the tension remains rhetorical and political, not military. But here are the major questions now rising from this situation. Number 1. Who controls the narrative? International voices are framing the crisis in Nigeria in a very religious terms. While Nigeria insists it is a complex security issue affecting both Muslims and Christians. This is not just a debate about facts, it is a struggle over how Africa's internal issues are defined globally. Number 2. Sovereignty versus intervention. Should outside powers step in when they believe human rights are at stake? Or does that open the door to foreign dominance and military overreach in Africa once again? Many Africans are asking, if the US can threaten to intervene here, what stops them from doing it anywhere else on the continent? Number 3. What does this mean for Nigeria-US relations? Nigeria says it is open to assistance, but on its own terms. This means diplomacy is still on the table, but trust has clearly been shaken. And finally, number 4. Where is the African voice in this conversation? Because so far, the loudest voices have been Washington and Abuja. But where are ECOWAS, the African Union, and regional peace bodies? If Africa wants to avoid repeating history, African institutions must speak and act before foreign powers shape outcomes for them. So, where do things stand right now? We are in a moment of watchful tension. Words have been exchanged, firm ones, positions are clear, nobody has moved militarily, and diplomacy remains possible. But this situation has sparked a bigger conversation about how Africa's crises are interpreted, who gets to speak for African realities, and whether African nations truly exercise full sovereignty on the global stage. Now, on the US side, the administration has not walked back on its comment. The US still maintains its position and has redesignated Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged religious freedom issues, with warnings that aid could be affected at any time. Meanwhile, finally, the regional and international voices have begun to respond. ECOWAS, for example, has commented, pushing back on the idea that the crisis in Nigeria is purely religious. They stressed that insecurity affects communities of all faiths, and they emphasized regional efforts to address violence through diplomatic and security channels, not military interventions. Additionally, the African Union also has acknowledged the situation and signaled that Africa must play the lead role in addressing Africa's security challenges. They also reinforced the principle of sovereignty and continental problem solving. And we also have reports that China has expressed support for Nigeria's position and warned against external interference in Africa's internal affairs, adding another layer to the geopolitical conversation. So, for now, no military aircraft, no troops, no invasion, just pressure, warnings, and political posturing on both sides. But this story is not over, because what happened next will shape not only Nigeria's future, but Africa's role in global power dynamics. We will keep watching it closely. As always, we will break it down with facts, context, and clarity. Stay tuned. If you found this helpful, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Drop in the comments if you think the US will actually strike, or should Nigeria accept foreign help under conditions? Let's keep the conversation informed and respectful.